welcome everyone to another episode of the Virtual Ninja Show. Today we're going to talk about our unified security operations platform and OT security. I have two experts with me and I start with Ariel. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, first of all, Mike, I'm very excited to be here. I hope now I'm a ninja. It's my first time. So I'm Ariel Saghiv from the Defender for IoT product team. I'm a Blue Team Defender, and I work with our go-to-market partners and customers to enable them on OT security and how to do more of it, more faster and stronger.
Thank you, Ariel. And now, Adi, please introduce yourself.
So hi, my name is Adi and I'm part of the customer acceleration team. We work with the customers to be successful with their security goals and improving their security posture, specifically with the cloud security product, the Defender product, which we will talk about today.
Thank you so much. So, as I mentioned, it's about unified security operations platform, which is XDR and SIEM. So why are we extending it to OT?
So we know that today's industrial organization face the challenge of multiple endpoint devices that remain untracked and are not secure, because these are specifically industrial devices that were developed over many years of production. Some of those devices are legacy or old systems with a very unique and vendor-specific behavior, and protecting these devices is a challenge. What we're doing with the industrial, adding the operational technology into the XDR, is we're going to enable the customers, our customers, to have the holistic view across their environment, both the corporate and the industrial environment. And we want to enable the customers to protect holistically both IT and OT devices. And by that, adding the OT capabilities into the XDR, we are aligning this holistic view.
Thank you. So you mentioned devices and IT and OT. So what type of devices, Ariel, are protected with OT security? For me, this is always like, some little, devices that don't have a monitor, that are doing some very specific work. So help me out there.
So I usually get the question if this is the coffee maker in the office, and the answer is usually yes, because if the coffee maker breaks down, this is going to harm probably revenue and production. The coffee maker usually does not cause safety issues, I'll say. Usually we see all these acronyms: OT, operational technology, SCADA, ICS, industrial critical systems. Now it's called CPS, cyber physical systems. So all these systems that are smart enough to be networked, they are part of our daily lives today, all this technology that we see everywhere, but they are not smart enough to have any kind of endpoint protection. They were delivered out of the factory or out of the vendor as a closed system. Your car, the elevator, traffic lights, an electricity generator, a transport ship, an aeroplane, and so on. All these systems are not a PC. They are not used generically, but they have a mission. They are mission specific. Their network is mission specific. And then these kinds they need to be secured. Security is trust. Now, we want, when we go on any of these, use any of these systems, we want to trust them. We want to make sure that they are safe, that they are doing what we want them to do.
So, but do we know that they need to operate somehow, right? So they do have some kind of operating system on there, or how do they function?
You know what? let me show you something if I can.
Yes, please.
If we look at the world we live in and look at all these machines moving, we don't see their operating systems. We don't see what goes on inside their mind. I'll even challenge you. What's wrong in this movie?
I don't see screens.
Don't see screens. But I'll take it even further. These people don't care about OT security. These people go to work and it's invisible. They don't see what the machines are thinking, and they go on to do their work and look to go home at 5 and to their kids and family. And this is the part where OT security comes in. We build in that trust. We take these machines. Okay, so these guys have laptops with screens, but all these machines, we just don't know what goes on inside their mind and if they're working correctly or not.
Also, if I can add,
Yeah.
I think that over the years, these machines are increasingly connected to the organizational network. So all of these OT devices are eventually talking, in many cases, to the organizational network, but also some cases to the internet, and by that are very vulnerable, but are less protected from security perspective.
And then COVID came in, and all that remote access became much more important. Now you can't fly people over. You can't have them come to the office, or only a few people are in the plant, in the factory. And as you said, the machine has an OS. It has bugs. It has software. And you want to manage it somehow. And all of this sudden change and increase in remote connectivity, in remote monitoring. If we want to call someone and get the problem solved now, the speed of it is changing the world. And now these machines, which control the most sensitive things. I had a customer once tell me that when they are looking to see alerts or any kind of events or high severity alerts within the OT systems, that means for them that they're going to push the red button, run out the building, shouting to everyone to evacuate. That's these environments.
Yeah. So I have a burning question. You mentioned a lot of acronyms earlier. So what's the difference between, I think you said BMS and OT and IoT and IT? Like, is there a quick answer to summarize basically what's the difference there?
So all of them involve these electronics pieces working together, but in different mission-oriented ideas. BMS, as an example, is building management systems. Of course, these are systems that control your air conditioning, your lifts, your access control. You see them across industries, of course. You see them in every industry. And then the other ones, again, ICS, SCADA, now the new term CPS, which tries to group them all, cyber physical systems, all of them are around, if these are more monitoring or supervisory control and acquisition systems and so on, they're all around these systems which are used in different industries or in different situations. But we see them at the core of the business. They are the petrol stations, the systems in the supermarkets, the smart cashiers and so on. And they are the systems around, these systems that are enveloping these, the main systems, the life support systems, the air filtering systems, the refrigeration systems and so on, where if they go down, they take down the business as well. Even though they are not in the core of the business, their importance is critical as well to daily revenue and safety.
So I guess, Ariel, this also explains why it is so difficult or different to protect OT devices, because they have so many different OSs. And IT, we can, add agents on it and another protection and another thing. And for OT, probably not. So if you think about that factory that you just showed in that video, so what is required from an organization like these to protect or to mature their OT security?
So first of all, I'll ask the question, when was the last time you patched your coffee machine or smart or TV?
Whenever there comes a pop-up, it never happened on my coffee machine, to be honest, but it happens sometimes to my TV.
Yeah, and then that's the challenge. Because these systems are so different, the TV has a screen, by the way. Some of these others don't. Or your car that now bothers you to connect it up to get patched now with the new electric cars and so on. Organizations are seeing the technology aspect, of course. But we also see coming to play another two elements. That's the people and the processes, the workflows. Because now we have the IT guy, the security team, looking to secure and help secure that environment. Within that environment, which has ovens and all these even dangerous equipment. And you don't just turn it off and patch it. You need some way to monitor it, to create a discussion. That's the people aspect. How do we get the security engineers and the operational engineers, the people that are responsible for that system, to talk together and understand the importance of security, and that they are working together and helping each other. And then that's the workflows and the processes. And that's where it starts. So then when we look at and evolve, this is part of why it's exciting, this new generation of these type of OT security tools with the XDR platform, is that the security team has one place to look, but it's not only the security team. We see this, the organization talking to one another. People on the facility floor understand that when something happens, they need to reach out to the security team, or the security team knows who to call, who is their guy on the floor in that facility that they need to talk to, who is driving that train in that respect, and now has a cybersecurity issue.
Yeah. Without mentioning names or something, but are there some known attacks for OT environments? Like, basically help people understand it's important, it's critical, because these threats are happening and are going on, from the Linux world, from the Windows world. We all know things are happening, but OT, it's so not known.
So I'll say first of all that these attacks group maybe into three, or can be broken down into three groups. One is IT attacks attacking OT. These environments usually have, so if you have a water utility system, as an example, usually their equipment is a good number of years in place, a good number of years. They buy it, they use it, and they replace it only when it breaks down. So you would find that Windows NT PC, the Windows 7 PC, if it's more modern even, but these OSs are involved in the environment, and then malware that newer modern PCs are patched for and are already impervious to effects. Once it hits any of these older devices that are in place because nobody replaced them, it ignites, and then the fire spreads, and it takes down water, electricity, and other these utilities have, because of the widespread geographical reach and the many different sites across the country. Patching is slow, updates are slow, and so on. So that's one group, the IT crossing over into OT. We also see the mistakes, the operational errors, where an engineer would come in and do something that they mean to do, but because of some mistake, it will change the programming in any of these devices. Now, we would meet it once something breaks down, and somehow we'd like to research back. This technician that we invited from our vendor to fix something actually broke something down, but we have no visibility into it. The third part is the OT-specific attacks, usually nation states. We see this across geopolitical conflicts across the world, and these are leaking out because of the internet, which allows everyone to be connected to everyone, and then all the dark nets inside and so on. We see these attacks leaking out into the public internet, and then can be used by any bored child that has an internet connection and finds it, and then tries to run it on their local administration or city management.
So first part is you need to have visibility in what actually exists, right? So you don't have users logged into these devices. It's different. So maybe Adi, can you explain a little bit more? What does it mean to have visibility into OT?
So I think that to refer to also your previous question, so the basic problem or challenge that we have with these OT industrial devices is not only that they are old and sometimes working with very outdated operating systems that were never patched or don't have any updated security patches. It's also very vendor specific. So each OT vendor uses its own communication protocol, its own behavior. So these devices behave differently. And by being more vulnerable to attackers and behaving differently, it's more challenging to track those. And this is where our specialized OT knowledge comes into the picture. And this is what we're adding right now to the XDR, because we know that organizations today are very mature with endpoint security. So a lot of organizations have already MDE installed in their networks, in their global networks, and and this helps us today, and we're going to leverage this already deployed endpoint security, and we're adding the OT discovery capabilities into this existing solution. Mm-hmm. And by that, the existing endpoint security that organizations already have today, and which today approaches their corporate network and IT devices, will now be able to as well discover these unique OT devices. Mm-hmm. So we have a dedicated research team, which are experts with inspecting the industrial protocols. And we are able now to add into the existing device inventory that we have today in the XDR, the OT part. So by that, we allow visibility across corporate and industrial network, and we are able to expect and predict and make sure that the exposure of these devices is proactively reduced. And also, once we have the fingerprints of those devices and the entire mapping of their communication, which devices they are talking to, and so on, and we can draw this map, and we have this visibility. This is the baseline that the security teams of both IT and OT can work together and see their organizational network all in one place. And from there, once we have the full fingerprint of these devices, we can do also vulnerability management, and we can provide actionable recommendations specific to OT, because as Ariel said, we have different aspects that we are looking into when we're talking about OT security. Yeah. The risk is different, the type of attacks is different. So with the OT knowledge, we're able to track these devices and map it and its behavior, and then we can also provide the actionable recommendation and the threat detection across the IT and OT environments.
Thank you. So I think it is the right time now to jump into the demo so we can actually have a look in how that inventory looks like, and then also what Adi just mentioned, to look into how we discover the vulnerabilities and what are our recommendations. So let's have a look and jump into the demo.
Okay, Heike, so as you can see, this is our standard XDR. And you mentioned this, that these devices are everywhere in all industries. So, OT security is applicable for all industries. Every organization that has from smart buildings, access systems, and down into any kind of production flow or automated processes which depend on machines and technology. And with expanding the XDR, we can take this wonderful tool set of capabilities that can secure identities, endpoints, and now the networks, we multiply it, we open it up. The XDR sees now the network and everything in it, the networks where all the organization's assets are in. This can be controlled from a single tenant, or it can, if you want to have a full visibility, or in separate tenants within your organization. It's turned on by default. It's controllable from the settings screen, from the device discovery menus. And here it's already turned on, and we can do some fine tuning if needed. The system automatically detects the networks that it is on, and if they should be excluded or not, or monitored. So basically, you don't really need to touch it, but any kind of further control for the Ninja, that's where we do it. So this is kind of brushing your teeth. The ninja also needs to brush their teeth in the morning before we jump over to the inventory. But Adi, could you maybe tell us a bit more on what kinds of toothpastes we have and how we can discover these networks?
Yeah. So usually when we do a discovery using the MDE and the XDR, the default and recommended discovery that we are using is standard discovery. This discovery method is on by default, and this is the recommended method because this will allow best visibility into the device. Because in this discovery mode, the MDE agent will probe devices in the network while generating a very negligible amount of unicast and multicast traffic and gathering all the information about these devices. We are aware that industrial organizations may be concerned about active probing. This is why we allow some exclusion options. So we allow excluding machines which the customers don't want to be scanned, or we can tag specific machines for the scanning. This can be applied on a subset of devices in order to gain the trust with this discovery method. But there is also the option for passive discovery. Passive discovery is achieved with a MDE basic discovery. With this discovery method, the MDE agent will passively collect information about other devices in the network, even for unmanaged devices. So we have both the active and the passive options, and it's configurable from this screen. I just want to mention that in some cases, we are aware that MDE agents cannot be installed in the environment or in specific subnets of the environment, or if the network is completely separated or segregated or restricted. And in such cases, we have another option to do passive discovery using Defender for IoT network sensor. So this network sensor will connect to the switch, to the span port in the network, and will inspect the traffic and will provide the device inventory and feed it directly to the same XDR. And by that, we can apply both discovery options, either active or passive, and we can find whenever we start to do a deployment, or we start to look at the network that we need to protect, we need to understand it and do this network architecture review, and to understand exactly where do we want to use the MDE agents, where do we want to use a complementary sensor, and which type of discovery methods we want to apply, when the recommended is the default standard discovery by the already existing agents.
Thank you. So after the discovery, we see devices that we haven't seen before, probably. So can we have a look into the inventory and how this looks like?
Right, of course. So we can see within our XDR, or standard XDR, within the devices tab or menu, we can see that our inventory has been populated by all these devices on the network, which don't have endpoint security on them. And even a ninja tip here, if the endpoints in my network are seeing OT devices, we will see this notification on top. Look, you have these 13 OT devices that are not protected.
Wow.
And if you'd like to acquire the add-on license for OT security, and then that fits into your XDR, it enables it further. So you can see this full visibility of models and firmwares and vulnerabilities and so on. So this is our inventory now with these devices that are coming in from the network. And we can group them even further because these devices are cyber physical. They live somewhere. They have an address. They have an owner. Someone manages them. Now, this is from within the OT security menu, where on the left side here, we can turn it. We can go to this tab and see our sites. The system will recommend and allow you to create new sites. This is one of our sites that is being monitored with devices on that site. And from here, the XDR experience is enhanced. We can manage permissions with unified RBAC. We can see the site security score. We can manage the security for that facility with all devices inside, both the OT, IoT, all these devices and endpoints, because they're all part of one network, of one security posture.
Wow. So you mentioned license. Just want to get this out of the way. So I understand with MDE, you can discover all the different device types, including OT, IoT. But if you then want to protect them, MDE is not the tool. We need to have Defender for IoT because it has that brain, the knowledge on how to protect those industrial devices. Am I right?
So, yes, I'll start with a yes. Otherwise, I get a problem with my wife. But I'd like to fine tune it. So MDE has the software capabilities inside with E5 or MDE P2. MDE discovers out of the box enterprise IoT devices, VoIP phones, TVs, and so on. These are part of the basic offering because they live in the enterprise networks and are part of the security posture of the enterprise. The same MDE, once you turn on the add-on OT security license, the same software will have added capabilities. The license is site-based. You turn it on for each of your facilities, and then it will use these extra protocol discovery tools. It will bring in these extra vulnerabilities and so on, so it will allow you to see more and do more. Basically, you extend it to the sites where you need it for your facilities that are not the enterprise sites, but your operational sites. And that's the add-on license. But it uses the same MDE. You don't need to have a different MDE install or anything like that. The same software can bring in these extra capabilities and extra analytics, both for the software side and the XDR data lake.
Okay. After we saw this now, I guess there is the question, what are the insights that we get, vulnerabilities, weaknesses, and all these things? That's probably the next step.
Yes. So now once we've mapped out and understand what is in our environment and first of all, discover these devices that maybe shouldn't be there, which is usually an interesting surprise in discussions when we look at it with customers. After we cleaned it up, and we saw that the student brought in a game console for his night shift, removed the game console from the network, the operational network. We look to do some vulnerability management and improving our security posture. So if you like, finding out these places where a fire can ignite and cleaning them out, cleaning out these dry leaves. So we can see, and this is the standard XDR, of course. We see here all our vulnerabilities and vulnerabilities for devices, for OT devices within our environment. It's part of our vulnerability management process. But not only vulnerabilities, because OT devices, sometimes it's hard to patch them. Take your coffee machine. So it's not always possible to patch. We can look here, we can see here at the specific device vulnerabilities. They are grouped by device, or of course, see them overall within your environment. But we also move into this world of recommendations. Maybe it's not about patching, but it's about securing your network, implementing zero trust, implementing any kind of identity controls. And of course, you will see these recommendations which are applicable, changing the default password on a webcam. These kind of things are the basic, if you like, security hygiene that implementing them already cleans out, 80% of that totally open network. And you can get your security score up. So this all feeds into the standard XDR security metrics and language and in interfaces where we feed into recommendations as well. Just block that process, remove that old software, and segment this device into a separate subnet and so on. That's the kind of things we look at. Standard screens, I'm not showing you anything different from a user interface perspective.
No,
very friendly,
this is great. Yes, because people that are already, familiar with the XDR portal, for them, it's just like, wow, I see more and I get all the goodness, like vulnerabilities, weaknesses, recommendations for the entire environment, including now all those IoT, OT devices. This is also, we could dive deeper into all these little things. And we did an episode on Defender for IoT. We were still working on the Defender for IoT portal and not in XDR. So now this is all in here as well. So, but how can customers get quickly the most value out of it, and maybe some best practices on how to get started with that?
As Adi mentioned, out of the box, MDE performs this discovery. It will identify devices, and you will get that recommendation telling you have OT devices to secure. Once the OT security site license is applied, we'll get that extra enrichment. We'll see the firmwares, the vulnerabilities, the extra details on those devices, and the network sensors that can light up those darker parts of the network where there is no endpoint that is monitoring. In some cases, by the way, those technicians moving along with MDEs as well, they move with that light within the network. And then it's on by default. You'll see that value immediately. And then you'd see things like this incident, which involves a whole lot of entities, identity, servers, PCs, Active Directory, and so on. And also things that are happening where there was some attempt to access OT devices. And this alert is affecting our incident. This is part of our organization, of course, with Copilot on top, helping us to summarize and deal with it. So the value is on by default. And then once you activate the OT license, you will get this enhanced enrichment of all this data within the XDR.
This is also, of course, one of my favorite topics, Copilot for security, which means having OT now in the Defender portal, they also can benefit from Copilot for security, of course, if they have the license for it. But this is huge. And this is so cool that it goes across all the different entities.
Eike, from coming in from doing blue team defense for a good number of years, the largest challenge is moving, and attackers are using all these tools, Metasploit, and we'll see AI, triple enhanced GPT-10 and Metasploit and so on. The breakout time for these attacks is getting so much shorter. And then cyber defenders, if we take, a day or 2 days to reconstruct an event and decide what to do and, deal with it, it's much later than the attack already finished, and we can't be relevant in even blocking it before it happens. And it's all around that early detection and securing down our posture, looking to see how to do it, smarter, and use all these tools, security Copilot and so on. It can summarize this incident. It can highlight things that me as a human, if I need to go into all of these different data and these different systems, this takes it to a whole other level for dealing with these threats, and I can multiply my ability and hopefully go home on time and not stay late into the dark hours of the night.
Yeah. This was a lot. And I know there's people that would like to read something, get a guide. So I know, Adi, you and your team, you were working on a best practice PDF file on how to secure OT devices with Defender XDR. We will put a link to your PDF file that will be published or is published. We will see by that time. Thank you so much both for attending, and I hope everybody out there learned something new today. And yes, thanks everyone. See you soon. Bye.